Shit, tell us your name and what do you do?
So my name's Steven. I'm currently a full-time student at Wichita State studying political science with a double minor in Japanese and multi-organizational leadership.
Ooh,
A lot of words, a lot
that's
of
a
words.
breath. Okay, so as you know, we convene here today to kind of go over some things we've been talking about, man, and you have a really awesome perception of everything. Dope. Let's talk ICE. Let's talk deportation. First off, how do you feel about this whole ICE deportation thing?
I mean, it's troublesome in a lot of ways, not just in how they're doing it or why they're doing it, but the effects on what happens. Because just talking on the economic scale of how it's affecting, numbers of people actually working that are paying taxes, that then cuts down on money that goes to schools in areas that are already receiving not enough funding for their schooling. But it also goes to roads in areas that already don't have enough funding for their roads, and all the other things that local taxes go to. And that's really the big kicker with taxes, is that it's the local taxes that do the biggest work in your day-to-day life.
Right.
And so when you lose those people paying those taxes, you lose that capability. And the way they're doing it is obviously a massive issue, because it's violating the Constitution, because there's no due process being involved. There's deporting people without any warrants. They're conducting searches and seizures and things that the framers of the Constitution themselves were terrified of happening. But now people are okay with it because of who it's happening to, because of the years and years and years of, it essentially boils down to propaganda, is the best term to put it, on changing the perspective of people. And it's been a years-long project that we've been able to see.
Damn. Well, okay, so I spoke to a gentleman. He says, well, because everybody have different, you can switch and look however you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to solely.
Okay.
But I'll just be trying to get you to make sure we get some time on that one.
Gotcha.
Either way go, we can do however. We're free. That's the good thing about it. Either way, anyway. I spoke to a gentleman and I spoke to a lot of people actually, and everybody has their own perception, their own feelings about it. The way it was explained to me by one guy, he was like, well, man, get them out of here. They all, they're illegal. He said, I couldn't just go to their country and just live illegally there. So, he had a really strong opinion on send their ass back.
Yeah, and see, a lot of people have that perspective, but most people that have that perspective don't actually understand the whole process of why they're here, undocumented or illegally, because many of them are asylum seekers, and the asylum process is a very lengthy process. But by nature of asylum, you're seeking it due to fear of something bad happening to you in another country. So you're going to change which one you're in, for your own personal safety, for your family's safety, for your family's capability of growing and learning and becoming better and having those, possibilities. America's the land of opportunity, which is why some people come here.
Right.
And so they can't just wait outside the country for being able to come in because of that very nature of the threat they face. And so a lot of them stay in, they used to stay in things that were called sanctuary cities, and that'd be a commonplace they'd stay because they could easily access courts there and work through the legal process without actually having those documentations ready and available, because the border itself is clogged, and just getting through the border, the legal points of entry normally is already a challenge enough as it is, even for American citizens. It takes a time because it is a lengthy line there at all times of day.
Well, so like I said, I'm gonna go back and forth because I'm trying to make sure. But so the way that when I hear about deportation, I'm not hearing any stories that's going to say that makes them somewhat, make them look like they're human. They do, but they don't. All I hear is they're criminals. We're taking the worst ones. We're getting them out of here, rapists, they're killers and all that. And I truly don't believe that I don't believe that there are criminals in everywhere. Mm-hmm. Let's get that straight. How I will put it is, because I have my feelings about it, and I think that there's people been here working law-abiding lives. Their passport reasons, I don't know. But isn't it cruel to a certain extent to kind of just go snatch people out and separate them from children?
Absolutely, yeah, and that is a problem we're facing right now. It's not just occurring to, the criminals that are here because, yeah, they're going to have that. That's what happens. But it's also occurring to people that are here and committing no crimes. And even I forget the name of the secretary who's in charge of that, but he told the head ICE officials to stop going after criminals and explicitly go to Home Depots and to farms and to find places where people are.
I did hear that.
To get those deportation numbers up because they have quotas now. And a quota in a law enforcement agency is one of the most dangerous things you can have because it then incentivizes action purely on numbers, not on any qualitative state, which then creates those issues where we're seeing now of overpacked facilities, people being sent for no reason, American citizens being taken and deported without just cause or any reason. And we're seeing this as what seems to be precursors to further actions that are only going to get worse, as outlined in what was claimed to be not associated with the Trump campaign, Project 2025, but we see them following the playbook, page by page, and that's real indicative that they are following it. They're just lying to the
What do you feel about what's your thoughts on immigrant children that was brought here as babies and grew up in America and didn't understand that they were that they were illegal until it was time to apply for school and jobs? What about them?
Yeah, and they absolutely belong here, just like every other American here, because they're here living as Americans, doing their job, trying to participate in society, and I see no reason they shouldn't be Americans. I mean, America itself is built on people coming here. There is no race of Americans. There is no single type of American. We are all Americans, and anyone that I'm not a fan of Reagan, as a lot of people probably guess, but he has a lot of really good quotes. And one of my favorite one of his is that you can move to Japan, you can't become Japanese. You can move to France, you can't become a Frenchman. You can move to Germany, but you can't become German. But you can move to America from anywhere in the world, and you will become an American. And I think that's really powerful.
That is pretty fucking deep, dude. I didn't. Tell me, okay. So ICE and deportation and all that, and they're hauling them off to different places. Now I'm hearing that keeps coming to my attention is something called Alligator Alcatraz. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so it is a facility in the Florida Everglades that was built on a kind of semi-abandoned airstrip that is built, estimated to house between 3,000 and 5,000 people, is supposed to have 5,000 beds for sure. But the explicit intent as created by those who created it, by the governor of Florida and by the Trump administration, the intent is that if anyone attempts to escape, they'll be eaten by alligators or snakes, which is inherently a cruel thing to just hope for these people to be killed because they came to America seeking better opportunity in life for themselves and for their children. And also being on that airstrip, it creates the ability for them to airlift them out of there quickly into prisons in El Salvador, which is a violation of international law because they're not being deported to the country of origin or anything remotely close to the sorts. And the major concern is what happens when that facility gets full, what happens when the private companies that are being run for that facility begins treating their prisoners cruelly, just like other private prisons in America do. And what happens when they start, building other facilities there. For example, at Border Expo 25, which was a bunch of companies putting in, advertisements and pushing themselves for being picked up for contracts with the Border Patrol. Several companies that were there include an Israeli company who specializes in surveillance in large flat areas, such as the Everglades, where they can put up essentially a balloon that's tethered to the ground that can have 360 surveillance. And another company that was also there that seemed out of place was a cremation company that specializes in crematory facilities. And another company that was at Border Expo 25 who did pick up a contract and began building for Alligator Alcatraz was a company that specializes in building military-style barracks quickly.
Damn. So someone asked the question, is Alligator Alcatraz the new concentration camps?
a lot of people don't like using the term concentration camp because they inherently associate it with Nazi Germany, and unfortunately, we need to use the term more because it is by definition concentrating a group of people for typically political or ethnic reasons, which is also a political reason. We in World War II had concentration camps for the Japanese. We called them internment camps, where we would take Japanese citizens, American citizens of Japanese descent, and put them in a camp, fearing that they could be spies. We did the same thing in World War I with German people of German descent who had recently immigrated from Germany to the U.S. Japan did it in Korea and in Manchuria and occupied areas of China during World War II. Following World War II, the dictatorship in South Korea, used the same camps to house political prisoners to maintain their control of the country until 1987. I mean, there's a lot of cases where we've seen concentration camps, but we just need to be more okay with using the term because it allows us to actually understand and approach things the way they really are instead of softening these blows.
Wow, I think that okay, so before we move on, I didn't write this question down, but I do want to go over maybe if we can get together and have another interview and we go over what's in the big beautiful bill. I don't know much about it, so I don't want to go into it until I do more research, and then I can actually be prepared to have, some on Johnny on the spot questions that I would think that the people would want to, know.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a significant, I believe it's like 924 pages. It's over 900 pages for sure. It's a hefty bill that contains a lot of things that have been changing around, and one thing that was in there that was incredibly unpopular that did get removed before it was passed was they were intending on selling off public lands to private corporations.
No. We're going to save that. No, that's going to... Okay.
Thankfully, that wasn't passed. That one.
Thankfully.
To worry about for now.
But the fact that they entertained the thought is scary. But given everything that's going on in this country, we have the commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, and there's a lot of people that was on Trump's side that's switching sides. There's a lot of people still rooting. There's a lot of people that was against Trump from the beginning. This rumor of dictatorship, Trump's a criminal, he's did A, B, and C, a lot of things. What is the Epstein cover-up about?
Yeah, so with what's called the Epstein files and the Epstein list, there is no one specific definitive list as far as we're aware. But essentially, people are referring to the compilation of different documents that were maintained by Epstein and his staff about his island, his plane, and all his visitors. And a lot of people were concerned because out of the initial leak, which was just the flight logs of who was on the plane, doesn't necessarily say where they were going or not, just who was on these planes. It contained a lot of major political figures, a lot of scientific figures, to include Donald Trump. But a lot of people are really concerned when it comes to Trump and his now dismissal of it because he's following what a lot of people refer to as the Israeli method of PR, where you deny something happened, and then when you can't deny it happened, you say essentially it wasn't too bad, and if it was bad, well, it's fine anyways, and people did worse.
I don't know if I myself has heard that term, Israeli method of PR.
Typically, it's referred to things done by the IDF, especially in Gaza. It's been going on for decades and decades now, where it's a recognizable pattern that they do the same thing, where an atrocity is committed and they deny the atrocity happened, and when they can't deny it happened, they say, "Oh, well, that's not how it happened. There's actually this." And when they can't, change the story, they say, "Well, actually, it's not that bad," and then they just try to cover it up and make it go away.
Pattern is pattern. So if why would Trump want to cover the Epstein? Is it really, that's a rhetorical, right? Because Epstein Island, underage, facts, conviction, prison. So that's why Trump isn't releasing the list, because he may potentially be involved with something, or is it just the association? Well, we know he's associated with it. But No one hides something that hard unless it's something to hide.
Yeah, and the biggest, some of the bigger indicators with this is that he may be involved include the recent birthday card that was recently uncovered that Trump had sent to Epstein, where he mentioned things like, we have a lot of secrets in common, a lot of big secrets and a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
There's also his previous interactions when running beauty pageants with underage girls in there, where he would just walk in while they were changing. And that had been known for the 2016 election, and many other cases similar to that.
Is that what he was accused of, grabbing a woman by her hoo-ha?
That was just him saying that in, I think it was the Access Hollywood tape. I forget the actual term, what it was from, but he would just say to, when when a woman's not doing what you want, just grab her by the, and just along with it.
Big question. Epstein committed suicide, or was he murdered?
Well, there's no definitive evidence for either. However, there's a lot of indicators to the point that it was not suicide. For example, the raw footage that was released by the administration recently skips at least 1 minute, if not more, was saved multiple times in Premiere Pro, and was a compilation of at least 2 different video files. That was scrapped from the metadata that was from the actual video that was released by the administration. There's a lot of really cool things.
So, from my understanding, he had just made bail. Is that true?
I'm not familiar with that. Possibly, but it also could have been he was ready to
spill the beans,
to essentially talk. Much like listening Maxwell, I don't know how to pronounce her name best, but Maxwell, she's currently talking some here and there. And
I keep hearing of who's the Attorney General, Lamp.
Pam Bondi?
Pam Bondi. Okay, I don't know where my head is. Anyway, Pam Bondi, she's a really big public figure.
Mm-hmm.
She's somewhere involved with Epstein as well, with the tapes and whatever they got going.
I'm not aware of her being any evidence she's involved. If more than anything, she's playing into this because that would be her role in this. It's part of the administration, being the Attorney General. She's the head of the Department of Justice. She's the one who fired a bunch of people that were, prosecuting Trump previously when he had his, 34 convictions.
Damn.
She, reoriented the DOJ. Current DOJ policy is top priority for the DOJ, wrapping back to the ICE thing, is top priority for the DOJ is revoking citizenship for people, for naturalized citizens. And
was birthright citizenship.
Yeah, they're also trying to get rid of that, despite it being explicitly written in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that anyone born in the United States is a citizen.
If they can change the Constitution as easily as they want to, we're in bad shape.
Yes. When we're facing freedom of speech threats, freedom of religion threats, freedom of gathering threats, threats on the Second Amendment.
Dictator.
Yeah.
Dictation.
Essentially.
What do you know what the charges were for Epstein?
For Epstein, I know he had some trafficking charges of some sort. I don't know the specific charges. And I believe it was in 2002 or 4, where he had taken a plea deal and essentially not prosecuted due to some deal he made that kept him away from being prosecuted for those things for a while until he eventually was.
So, Trump, how many charges was he actually convicted on? I'm asking. This is off board.
34, if I remember correctly.
Actual conviction.
Yes, most of them were either money related, like white collar crimes, essentially most of them.
But we, the public, we get in trouble for simple possession. Any fights with your girlfriend, any crime that's out here that's not even really, you can't get particular jobs, but you can catch 30 charges, be convicted, and still be the president.
Yeah, I mean, that's due to the fact that people voted for him. That is just how the system works, unfortunately. people did vote for him, and he was made president. And they also, I forget what happened with his sentencing, but essentially it was all basically nothing for sentencing because he became president. And it's kind of just a sign of problems with the justice system. I know we previously talked about how groups like the IRS primarily go after people like me and you because they don't have the funding to hire the right lawyers or pay to sustain a long enough legal campaign to fight these battles against people that have the money, have the resources, and have the legal teams with the experience to fight against that, which is why they're targeting that. That's why, you know, a lot of people just raise taxes on the rich, because if they paid their fair share of taxes or what they currently are supposed to pay right now, we wouldn't have to worry about raising the taxes on them. You know, companies like Walmart and Amazon pay little to nothing some years, and they get away with that because they can legally afford to, and they can fight that in court, and they can, you know, find every single loophole they want and structure their entire business around that.
Monopoly.
Not necessarily, but monopoly is a different problem that we do also have in the United States, unfortunately.
You said they were going to sell land, like and I've said this, America is just going to be a country of renters.
The lands that they were intending on selling in the Big Beautiful Bill were our public lands, those like our state parks, our national parks.
Oh my God.
Any of those.
And that'll effectively privatize it or something, right?
It will privatize it, but it'll also destroy it, because those companies will then move and utilize that real estate to build structures, to begin mining, to begin exploiting the resources available there, which will destroy ecosystems not only in that area, but in surrounding areas, because every ecosystem affects its nearby ecosystem as well.
Before we get out of here, is anything that you think the public should look for, or just how should we move given the current situation? We have a war going on. I don't know how much personally that will affect us. We're watching the Epstein thing come around, but does the president, even if he is on the damn logs, even if he's there doing something, if you're the most powerful guy and you've already been convicted of crimes, it's not like you're going to get in trouble anyway. He's already president and he's been convicted.
Well, the Supreme Court already ruled that a president can't be charged with crimes that they committed while in office.
That's real?
Yep.
I don't, that doesn't feel right.
It does not.
That's essentially, you're above the law. Another question, I guess, that will pop up in my head. If they could come up with some way and change the Constitution and make particular people immigrants and literally create a whole thing where all over the country ICE is attacking and shipping people off, what's to stop them from going to African Americans? Because as I heard Trump saying, he was saying, well, the birthright citizenship was really meant for slaves because of slavery. What's to stop them from coming and saying, well, African Americans are truly not American citizens? If they can change the Constitution, what's to stop them at women's rights? And just as you said earlier, what's to stop them from freedom of speech and religion? What will stop them if they are able to continue to manipulate the Constitution, and what's to stop them from coming after African Americans or whoever else next?
The only thing that stops them is the people. You all have the capabilities to do this. The people elected to office in the Congress, in your local state House of Representatives and Senate, in your governor, these people are elected by you. You have a right to talk to them and tell them that you don't like this and you want something done. And when they don't do anything about it, that's when you can start creating more action and organizing and looking forward to what you need to do, protesting and getting things done. The only way that's going to stop them is by doing something. doing nothing, complaining about it, being online and making TikToks and Instagram posts about this is bad, but then not going out into your community, not talking to people around you and making sure people know what's happening will do nothing. What matters is getting up and doing something.
Wow. Man, your time is really appreciated, man. Your perspective is really appreciated. And I really do want to get together, man, and we can go over that big, beautiful bill. Maybe we even come up with a series of reading laws that people's, because we live in we live in a country governed by law, but they don't teach us law. They give us basics. So the typical person they can't even, that's why they have lawyers. And they don't know the language, and it's just a long thing. Why don't we learn law? So,
and you can always write your own too and submit it to your representatives to sponsor and for them to bring into either state or federal legislation.
That's really good for people to know. And I think that's a good thing to teach people, because, there's people that really don't believe that their votes count. There's people that really don't believe that the law is their protection of them. And there's people that really don't believe the little that they can do won't make a change. And I believe in what you spoke. If we all get out here in this community and we all do something and we create hell for tyrant government, I don't know how much of it'll change, but I know it'll change something.
It's always worth a shot, and the people that are elected to represent you, and that is their job. And their job is to make sure that you are all heard and that you are taken care of. And if they don't know what you want and you're not talking to them, they can't know.
Man, we got so much to cover.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Is there anything that you want to talk about, that you got, that any thoughts in your mind about anything you want to say? Because we're coming back soon for the big, beautiful bill. From today on out, I'm going to go and delve into it, so I'll at least have a somewhat of an educated mind on what's going on to the best of my ability.
Yeah, all I've really got for now is just make sure you and your community begin getting organized and being heard, and you talk to each other and you take care of each other. It extends more than just the political side of things, but making sure people are fed, making sure people have power and water, making sure people have a roof over their heads. You don't have to rely on the government to just, all right, they'll take care of the homeless people. Homeless people around here, start putting things together, start, finding ways to help people. Even if they're not homeless, even if they're just someone that's struggling a little bit, help them with what they need. It's these little things that have the biggest impact. A little bit of positivity every single day will make not only your life, but the lives of everyone around you and everyone in the world better.
I appreciate you coming out, man.
Absolutely. I thank you for inviting me.
Next time, big beautiful bill, and just so I have it on tape, it might even come out just how we're speaking now, because the whole point of these interviews is for us to just be real and do what we do. Big beautiful bill, and the impact that mental health really plays in the communities we live in, because that's a big thing. So, later, Steve, man, we appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.